I'm in Isla Mujeres off of Cancun. Oh my goodness, what an incredible start to the year. I started with leading the Become the One 7-week course, which churned up a lot for the participants, especially women around. We did this 5 of my 10 Alana Prep Method processes, and the last one had us communing with our beloved. And when the topic around being protected by the masculine, being provided for by the masculine within ourselves and in relationship, all this shit got churned up. And then we go into a 2-day goddess retreat. And then we go into the 5-day intimacy retreat. And just one wound getting flushed up got to be integrated, and another wound getting flushed up got to be integrated. And really what it came down to was, and I guess we could say an inability or a lack of capacity, but really until you're taught how to feel a feeling all the way through to integration, you might dabble in the feeling, but it stays in there. You might dip your toe in the feeling, but not know how to resolve it all the way because you don't have someone holding space for you. You don't have a partnership in it. And it grows. If you don't fully integrate something, it grows. So here we have women in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s at this retreat, and we're going through these still unintegrated wounds around the masculine, whether that was being let down by their father, their grandfather, their ex-husband, a first boyfriend when they were 15. And these wounds are in the way. They're literally pushing away the beloved masculine relationship that they desire. Look, see, I'm at the marina. Look at all these humongous yachts. And so here are all these women who want intimacy and want this incredibly deep relationship, but they don't have it yet with their own internal masculine because they haven't grieved all the way to integration. And then that's in the way, even though they consciously might say, oh, I really want a relationship. Subconsciously, they're like, oh, but he might let me down. Oh, but I might get hurt again. Oh, but can I really trust him? Can I trust me? All of this is in the way of intimate relationships. No matter how much your cognitive mind says, I want one. No matter how much even your heart says, I'm ready for love. If there's a subconscious wound in the way that's like, oh, hell no, am I going to get intimate again? You'll either attract somebody unhealthy, or whoever you do attract, you're going to sabotage it because you're just wanting to protect yourself before they hurt you. Leave before they hurt you. Okay, so there's the little preamble to this incredible podcast with Josh. Okay, Josh is the coolest. Josh is so awake. Josh does his work. And even after doing years and years of work with men and grief, he is evolving, and he's learning that, wow, he has a real gift for the feminine. A real gift for women to understand from the masculine perspective, the way in which they communicate with their words, with their body, with their anything in their head, their assumptions or their expectations, or how they can be more inviting to that healthy masculine. So we got on like a house on fire. I had just had the chance to watch his documentary the night prior to this podcast. And then I got to go into a whole 5 days with John Weinland, the training that we're both in together. So I got to just be blessed by this man's glory. And so in this interview, it's going to get delicious. And then after the interview, we go over to our Patreon channel. Okay, is that an alligator? No, that's just a stick, I think. Okay, so what I've learned, sorry, back to you in a second, Josh. What I've learned here is that there's boa constrictors in the trees. There's alligators. I've seen tons of iguanas, massive, but I haven't seen an alligator. I'm okay about that. Birds all over the place. So having lots of fun. Here we go. Look at this. So you're going to go into Patreon after watching Josh and I dance and answer some naughty fun questions. So enjoy this podcast fully, and then go meet us over for after the show on Patreon. Enjoy and open your heart to this incredible man, Josh Wenner. Welcome to Intimate Conversations, Season 13, Heart Broken Open, where intimacy is an inside job. Well, welcome to another episode of Intimate Conversations. Here we are, season 13. Season 13 is called Heart Broken Open. Yeah. And this is one of my inaugural episodes that we get to be in this phenomenal studio together. So I want to tell you more about this amazing man, Josh Wenner. I met you just a few months ago in John Wineland's group. Unbeknownst to me, we were in like a tiny little group. And got to know you, and then all of a sudden people are like, you know Josh Wenner? And I'm like, yeah. And I was talking with my event coordinator for all my retreats, and he's a big deal. I said, well, I'm interviewing him tomorrow. So I'm really glad you're here.
Thank you.
Yeah. And
so grateful to be here.
Thank you. So let me tell everybody who this incredible man is. He's an entrepreneur, a veteran, a filmmaker, which we'll talk about, I saw last night, and an emotional resilience expert who's spent the last 20 years growing companies, maximizing human potential, and affecting the lives of over 500,000 humans. Joshua's coaching, curriculum, and frameworks are being used to help high achievers, successful entrepreneurs, men and women, first responders, veterans, and those who deal with high stress and trauma. And he teaches emotional resilience tools to help people create the emotional freedom they deeply desire in life and in relationships. And now you're focusing on helping women, coaching women one-on-one and in group containers to attract, recognize, and date healthy, integrated, masculine men. How did we get so lucky? This is so perfect. This is exactly what I need too.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful to be here. I'm really an honor to be here with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And so we saw each other last night. You, we'll start there, and then we'll move into the women's work you're doing. We saw your film, and so many things I want to say about thank you for helping to normalize grief. And as we bridge into this conversation around relationships, there isn't anyone I know who hasn't been heartbroken, right? And to keep the dream alive, I sort of see that's like the theme this year, heart broken open. And even when our heart shatters into a billion pieces, if we process the grief, to me, that's like the gold filament that puts all the pieces together in this stained glass heart that's actually stronger and more humble and more grateful because of everything we've gone through. So I don't know where you'd like to start the conversation, but where would you like to begin with your journey?
Yeah. Well, where do you want to start it off, around more my journey or more just what is alive in the conversation, or what?
Yeah. Well, just so people have an understanding of why you understand grief so well. And then let's bridge it into, your personal life, bridge it into the work you do with women.
Great.
Yeah.
Yes. So mine started off, I'd say, more as the traditional man, where I grew up in athletics and sports.
Yeah.
Very much so. Resiliency, I thought, was how quickly can I get back up and get back to work?
Right.
Or back to handling things.
Yeah.
And that worked really well. I had a lot of death early on. So I had a lot of deaths, and I was the guy that was like, I got us.
Yeah.
Like I just could show up and handle things. Yeah. And then it wasn't until 2007 when my brother came to see me on Christmas and said, hey, things have gotten messy. I'm shooting needles. Yeah. I got to come live with you, or I'm going to die if I go back to Reno.
Yeah.
And at the time I had a startup. I had computers all over the living room.
Yeah.
And I told him no. And 2 days later he died, went back to Reno and died from an overdose.
Yeah.
And that kind of threw me into, that started my hero's journey into the work I'm doing now.
Yeah.
But it's been a long 15-year process.
Yeah.
But I found out, flew home. Like I found out and cried initially. And then I was like, put it in a nice little shiny box, went back, took care of the service, took care of my family, came back and just went to work.
Yeah.
And a little bit deeper into the story and building up this company. And then a year later, 2008 hit and the economy crashed. And I came home one day to find my business partner run off with my girlfriend. So I all of a sudden in one moment had loss of business, which I had to go through bankruptcy. Loss of my best friend who I had been living with to build a company for a couple of years. Loss of my girlfriend at the time. And then on a freak, some buddies took me out to try to get my mind off things, and I ended up in jail. So long story short, I'm sitting in jail like, I chose this over my brother. And that's kind of what started this trajectory. And of course, my story with a lot of loss that I can be really relatable to anybody that's gone through different types of loss.
Wow.
So that's how it started.
Well, let me just breathe there because that was a lot. How much of that wake up call did you actually slow down and feel in that moment? Like, did you really get the
None.
universe was like, or you just
None.
was like, shut it down, go?
No. Yeah, it was more, I had my old strategy, which was put it all in a box,
Yep.
get up and move forward. So I didn't sit in any of it. It was more just like, how quickly can I clean out our house and sell everything or donate everything? How quickly can I get back up? I think within a month of all that happening, I went to work with Tony Robbins. I'm like, who's the best in the world? I'm going to go solve this. And because it was a personal development industry out of all things
Right.
that had happened in. And so I was like, I'm going to beat you at our own game. I was more competitive, more like, I'm going to let it all go, start over and beat you, be better than you. And so I went to work with Tony Robbins as a speaker trainer and
Yeah.
immersed myself in his work, which I do love his work. They're just different tools for different things.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was using it on grief, which now with my new knowledge on grief wasn't necessarily the tool I needed. So, but I was deeply into it. And so I was changing my state when I didn't feel good. Every time I didn't feel good, I was assessing the meanings that I was making it mean and changing the meanings.
Yeah.
I was really embedded in the technology. And 2 years later, I was like, I fixed myself.
Right.
I'm totally fixed. Let me go out and try to fix the world and help
Yeah.
everyone else heal.
Yeah.
Not realizing that I'd really just become an empty shell.
Yeah. Bypass the whole fucking
I
thing.
bypassed the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that took me into trying to help people that were in grief. Grief and loss kept showing up and I would help people. And I'm like, okay, maybe I really need to go into this. And got on grief forums and was like, I'm going to start helping people. And I picked some really messy grief scenarios, like really tragic. And was like, let me help them.
Yeah.
And failed miserably. And was like, I thought I had all the tools to help you fix any problem that you had. And it was such a sensitive subject. And they were so angry at me trying to fix their grief.
Right.
That I was like, okay, well, maybe I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
And maybe I need to understand this a little bit more. And so I started researching grief. And that's when I was like, oh, even the top experts in grief don't even agree. So I'm like, all right, if the top experts in grief don't agree what it is, if it can be solved, if it can be fixed, or if it's not, like there's all this confusion,
Yes.
then maybe I need to understand more about this so that I can help them fix their grief. I still
Still
wasn't
on the
in my,
fixer. Still the
I still was,
savior. Yeah.
yeah, I still was in that, let me go handle things, let me get the solution, let me help you solve it. And so that led me down this journey of interviewing grief and trauma experts. And then very quickly along that path, I started to realize there was actually a man named Ken Druck that I interviewed. And in his really rattled me. There was a concept he introduced that was like, it's okay to be broken and whole. And so much of the personal development I was in, like, I'm not broken, I'm whole. I'm not broken, I'm whole. And this duality concept of like heartbreak, where we feel heartbroken.
Yes.
And allowing the heartbreak to exist with the wholeness.
Yes.
So not like one or the other.
Yes.
But the acceptance was like I couldn't not look at it.
Yeah.
And it kind of forced me to go, oh, where am I still heartbroken? Where am I still broken?
Right.
That I can be whole and broken
Yes.
without trying to feel like inadequate or weak because I had some brokenness, but like creating some more space around that.
Oh my God, it's so safe. I remember watching your film last night, and the shell, the persona, very noble, right? It was, the roots were in wanting to help people. There was nothing evil about it, but you weren't there. You weren't there. You're running 1,000,000 miles an hour. I only know this because I would do the exact
here.
same thing. Totally in the head. I often see the iceberg, the little tip with our mind, and we're trying to figure it out and do it right and fix people and make a difference. But this humongous, and a lot of it's subconscious. Like, we know there's pain in there. We know there's shame in there. We know there's grief in there. But when we really start to get into the body, into the breath, into the movement, into a subconscious, it's intense. It's intense. I saw Kathy Eldon, who I know as well.
Oh,
in
nice.
In the documentary. So when did you start to realize the body, well, keeps the score, but the body is also the way through. The feelings are the way through. How did that begin?
Yeah, as he introduced the concept, I mean, I was on my own at the time. This was back in 2014-ish, and kind of before the trauma-informed grief, like nothing was really there yet.
Yeah.
And so the concept was there, and so all of a sudden I was forced to go, I just went through a ton of loss.
Yeah.
Old heartbreaks started to surface that I thought I'd gotten, like everything that was unfelt,
Yeah. Yeah.
all of a sudden started to bubble up.
Yeah.
And I was learning to accept it and be with it, but I had no tools, no community. So I was still acting like I was great to the external world, but
Yeah.
inside I would come home and just be a mess. I was a hot mess. I was
Right.
drinking. I was,
Right.
you know, eating food. I was eating ice cream. I was in porn. I was doing a lot of things to numb it because
Sure.
now I'm feeling all this stuff bubble up. But
Now
I
the
didn't
pain's
have,
coming up. You don't know how to integrate
and
it.
I had no tools.
Yeah.
So it's like now I'm feeling it, but I have
Yeah.
no tools and I
Yeah.
don't know what to do with it. So
Yeah.
let me just feel it and numb it, feel it and numb it. And so that took about 2 years. I was in like a 2-year process. But the irony was, even though I had no tools, but I was just had the courage to keep facing it.
Yes.
And even though I would face it and then numb, face it and then numb,
Yeah.
2 years of that journey, all of a sudden one day I woke up and I was like, I feel so much better than all the external things I'd been achieving for.
Right.
And then I would get to the top and there'd be another achievement.
Of course.
And I would just keep going.
Never get
And it was
there.
never like satiating.
Yes.
For some reason, going internal to like just allow myself to be with it. I woke up one day, I was like, I'm feeling better
Yep.
than I did in any of those external pursuits. And I was like, oh, there's magic here. There's
Yeah.
really some deep magic and wisdom. And it had been counterintuitive to, because I'd been in personal development and even before Tony going to different workshops. And,
Yeah.
and it was always around fixing
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
breaking through, or I was kind of externally focused on not being with or not feeling, but overcoming those.
Totally.
And this was like the opposite. And I was like, oh, there's wisdom here. And so I was like, how do I create a program to walk people through the process I went through?
Yeah.
And so hired a coach, worked with, and I decided to work with men. And so I was like, men, I feel like really need this. I needed it. I had wounding around men. And so it felt, I didn't feel ready, but I got the call and I was like, all right, I'm going to create this. So I created essentially a workshop that was, with my training with Tony, was very much modeling, but with this, God source was very much like, nope, let it all go. Trust yourself.
Yeah.
Kind of pull things out that are coming through God's source. And I looked for naturally recurring metaphors to give support of the concepts. And so I created the first retreat, took men through it, and it was the most transformational experience I'd been to because it was like men reframing grief and loss as courage, and then going
Say that
in.
one more time, slow.
Men reframing grief and loss as courageous and as their
That's-
power source.
Bingo. Yep. La cour, the heart.
The heart,
Right.
like instead of running from it, but
Yeah.
more, what are all the areas I'm not free? What are all the places I've been hurt?
Yep.
And how do I actually go into those areas, talk about those areas to kind of shake it all up
As an act of bravery.
as an act of bravery
Yeah.
and courage.
Yeah.
And then in doing that over a weekend, what it did is it brought everything up. And then when I first started, I just had a forgiveness process where we would practice forgiving ourselves. But it was like guys' whole bodies would start shaking.
Sure. It's all the discharge.
It was discharging, and I'd never experienced that. So it was my first time being in a container.
Yes.
I'd done so much transformation, but not like emotional discharge.
Totally get it.
And I was like, and then I could literally see after they discharged, like filling it back up again, they
Yep.
felt light and free. And I was
Yep.
like, oh, there's something here. So spent the next 5 years doing lots and lots of workshops and moving from just talk, which is where it started, to lots of hands-on somatic practices.
Totally.
As I kept interviewing somatics and learning about my journey, I would incorporate it. And so I did a lot of that. And then that led me to rites of passage work because I was like, okay, wait, how come we don't have these maps and tools?
Yeah.
Because we've been modeling men and our fathers were missing rites of passage all the way back from Industrial Revolution
Totally.
is when it got taken away. And so I was like, we need to bring rites of passage back and have, because there's basically a bunch of adult men that are walking around emotionally as boys.
Totally.
Because we had no tools, we had no insight, and our fathers have been missing or they had no training.
Correct.
So how do we bring it back and make it relevant? So the last 5 years we did rites of passage and put through over 1,000 men in rites of passage work. And that really showed me a lot of like, oh, we're basically bringing back tools on emotional resilience, reframing grief and loss as courageous, and then maps and tools to learn how to navigate life. And what it did is it created men who could engage with their life because men fall into kind of like two big, they're either like the savage man is where they want to consume and they choose power. And so if they're choosing power, they may be very successful or choose power, but they're really shut off emotionally.
Yes.
Or you have the man who chooses peace. And if he chooses peace, he's like the nice guy. So he may be really loving, really empathetic, really supportive, but he doesn't have boundaries. He doesn't have power.
Yeah.
And so integrating those pieces, the men that had more power learned to become more compassionate, more loving, more nurturing. The men that had more peace learned to create more power and have boundaries, say what they think,
Yeah.
choose to get into conflict. And what it did is it brought integration.
Yes.
So
totally. It has to.
and so that was like, oh, okay, so there's integrating men. And then here's where it shifted to women. is the men, which is usually flipped. Usually the women are like, can you bring the men here to work on this? Which is where half the men even came from in the first place to work with us. But they were like, now I'm more advanced than my partner. Like my partner, my wife, my girlfriend doesn't have tools and she's dysregulated. I don't know how to walk her through it. So can we coach together to get us on the same page? And I started doing couples coaching and I learned quickly. I was like, oh, women, you are so amazing because you're like 100 years ahead of us emotionally. So the women would pick it up very quick. And then when they learned to communicate differently with the man and the man learned to communicate differently with the woman, like it brought harmony, like deep harmony in relationships. And so it was like, oh, it's really about healing our own hearts.
Oh, always.
And when we heal our grief and we start to learn how to regulate our nervous systems and we learn how to communicate lovingly with each other and communicate our needs and our boundaries and do repair and clearing, like it brought this deep like relationship harmony. And so that's when I was like, oh, there's something magic. And one other distinction, women are so powerful. Like most of what men are doing are to serve women or to support women or to get a woman, like it's all kind of based on that. And so when women really learn men, I found that they got what they wanted much faster. And it just like relaxed the relationship because they were like, oh, he's actually trying to serve me. And this is how I communicate in a way that he can receive it. And it gives me more of what I wanted. And so it was like, oh, I think there's a missing link with women really understanding men. The second piece I had was in my own personal journey, I struggled a lot in relationship. And because my parents have been together for now like 55 years, I just had always said, I'm good there. And I was like, all right, I'm 40, not in a healthy relationship.
Oh, that's right. Wait a second.
Yeah.
I'm 10 years and 1 day older than you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We have very similar birthdays.
January 15th.
I know.
Yeah.
I love it. Capricorn.
Capricorn. Yeah. I just got a decade on you. That's all. So I want to, so just take a break there because I want to like dive into each of these pieces. So to complete about I always think we're here to teach what we're here to learn. So how beautiful that your go-getter was totally online, but the feeler wasn't. I remember so my mom died, and I remember being there in that moment and going, this is the moment. So you can shut your heart down or you can open it. And it was excruciating, but it was like 1 potato, 2 potato, and I just kept opening it. And I looked at her and she wasn't asleep. She was dead. Like I could really tell the difference. Like her soul wasn't there. Like I could really tell. I'm like, this is wild. Never seen a dead person. Okay. And I kept opening, excruciating pain. And then all of a sudden, she was everywhere. It was exquisite. And that to me is like, if you follow pain all the way to its center, it's the same place as if you follow bliss all the way to its center. Like this heart seems so symbolic and real in our journey of being a human. And then fast forward, that weekend was my sister's wedding. We pretended my mom was on vacation. We got really drunk. She got married. I got pregnant. 9 months later, giving birth to my son. And I'm looking, so the other side of the heart is like this bliss. I'm looking at this little baby, like, oh my God, who's kicking my ribs? Holy crap. So like so much love. And then all of a sudden, fuck, how do I keep this thing alive? Like terror was the other side. Like if I feel, and I was like, whoa, this thing about being human, it's not like we have this goal to be happy and blissful and all the time. But if I follow even the bliss of this little baby, I'm going to, like this DNA spiral, I'm going to find the next emotion, which is fear, attachment. How am I going to keep this kid alive? So for me, this journey of life thus far, as I'm listening to your journey, these two sides, whether it's the surrender, whether it's the go-getter, whether it's the pain, whether it's the bliss, like it's all part of this big, huge heart of being alive. So I so respect your willingness to be strong, go-getter, supportive, but to realize it was out of balance. And to do the other side, to teach what you needed to learn, to give what you needed to receive with these men so you could come into your, let's say, your female or masculine, feminine alignment within yourself, or both sides of your heart within yourself. I so love that. And I love the evolution of that led you into working with the women and seeing, oh, there's the same, maybe out of balance there, and I can bring them into to balance. So this, I'm sort of taking this meta perspective of your beautiful evolution.
Thank you.
If you could just back up one bit and then keep going into the women's work. why did you stop with the men's? Why did the women's begin? Was it a happenstance? Was it synchronicity? Was it your heart's whisper? Like, how did you know this chapter is complete-ish for now, and this is where I'm called to keep
Yes.
going?
So I'd had women asking me the whole time because I was doing deep emotional work.
Yeah.
And I would post the retreats. I would post the photos.
Yeah.
I was going against the grain because I started this back in 2007, 15-ish. I forget the actual time, but it was way before trauma. Like trauma is a more normal thing. Emotion's a more normal thing. Back then it wasn't. So
Right.
I was kind of leading with something that was kind of cringy to a lot of people. And
Yeah.
so, but women are like, oh my God, this is amazing. But the men weren't. And so I was attracting the men that were really in dire straits oftentimes, or the men that with their spouse or somebody would say like, you really need to go to this. And that's why it led into first responders, because fire, police, military have a lot of trauma. And so,
Sure.
but the women had always asked, and I used to believe then men do men, women do women. So I was very much like, nope. And I think when I kept checking in, because that would have been the easy route, like, oh, this would be the route to make more money. This would be a route to build a better business. They're going to pay. When I kept checking in, I'm like, okay, until I can have every single man, because I still was some of the I call them hard boys, the guys that were really strong power, more emotionally shut down, I still had a little edge around. And so I was like, I'm going to stay with men until I can handle any men that's in front of me and feel confident to like walk in the face of a man and go, I trust myself with any man to support him where he's at. And once I got there, I just believed this is what men do and this is what women do. The nudge started to come when I was having men and women together, because that's kind of was like, well, it's okay if they're a partner, that's okay. So that's when I started doing it. And then in that, I was really good with women, like naturally, so I could hold space for both and kind of bridge. Like, oh, okay, like I could check them both.
Yeah.
Like pause, let me translate what's happening. He's saying this,
Yeah.
she's saying this,
Yeah.
and then it would bring more harmony.
Give us a scenario. This is fascinating. If you can think of.
Let me think of a scenario. I could just kind of intuit what she was feeling and what she was wanting, but she was having a hard time saying, like, here's an example. I worked on a lot of messy things, like affairs. So, and as an example, there's a man that'd be like, I told you, I've taken ownership. She'd still be upset about what happened.
About the affair.
About the affair.
Yeah.
We're processing it.
Yeah.
He's trying to move forward.
Right.
Like, hey, we've talked about this. I've apologized. I've taken ownership. Can we move forward? And she's still upset. And I'd be
Right.
like, pause.
Right.
I'm not feeling ownership in you.
Right.
I'm hearing you say the words, but I'm not feeling it in your body that you've fully taken ownership. And so
Yeah.
I'm feeling her to go, if you take full ownership, I can trust that this won't happen again.
Right.
But if I don't feel full ownership in you, then I don't trust that it's going to happen. It could happen again because you're dismissing it or you're telling me,
Yeah.
but I'm not feeling it.
And you know this with compassion because you lived in your head the go-getter all this time. So you could feel where he wasn't in there, even though he was honestly thinking he was taking ownership. It's not like he's trying to avoid it, but he had no access
To his body.
to his body.
And in fully facing it,
Yeah.
it comes with the grief and the sadness and the shame and the stuff that you have to face.
All the stuff you don't want to
really,
feel. Yeah,
to
yeah,
really
yeah.
own it. Like,
And then if we back up, all the things that they ought to have been talking about and feeling into that even led to the affair.
that's it.
It's
Because
really-
that's what's underneath it.
Yeah.
Underneath it, they're both co-contributing.
Right.
But they both needed to go there. And she was actually a little bit more willing than he was. And I see this a lot, even though it seems like she's not. Once we got into a space to work on it, he was resisting parts of it. And so they both had to go in and feel and have really authentic conversations. But
Wow.
I think that just kind of highlights, like, once we do deeper work to do wounding work,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like gut, belly, it's down here.
Totally.
And so when you do it, you can start to feel men and women from here
Totally.
versus here.
Yeah.
And so in that space, I could feel and translate and connect the dots. And that was just one example of their conflict, and then
Yeah.
being able to be the mediator to say, here's where I'm not feeling you.
Yeah.
And then she'd be like, but she didn't have words for it.
Sure,
So
sure,
she's
sure.
like, I don't quite know, but something feels off.
Yeah. So when you invited, okay, so this is so great. I want to say something. Let's go back to this example. I started off similar to you, cum laude grad, like super smart girl, right? All in my head. And then moving in, and I'd also been a dancer all my life. I was a professional dancer over in Japan, so I've always loved that. But still, it wasn't hips. I could still open my heart and be like love, like be like little metaphysical girl, all love and light, all the things, and super smart. But this idea of being grounded in my hips, I had so much trauma that I hadn't integrated, sexual trauma, that I don't think I was in my body from my solar plexus down. And I would use all of that hypervigilance to be 3 steps ahead to knock shit out of the park and be a very successful person, be always people pleaser. I was very generous, could do all this stuff. It was all, I discovered, so that I wouldn't get hurt. It was hypervigilance. And as soon as I started integrating this and really realized, like that iceberg, right, what was actually going on in my body, humbling, terrifying, and then the homecoming of my autonomic nervous system into a wholeness I'd never experienced before. I guess we could say the light, the soul, the energy could drop in past the heart, down through the solar plexus into this, the hips, and a knowing, well pre-thought. And while the heart is still open and I can sense all the heart math, right, 5,000 times more than the brain can, there's still a deeper, like the keel on a sailboat, right? This might be the hull of the sailboat, that my heart, but the keel, I was never there before. And this keel goes down and down and down and down. And I'm like, oh, this is what it is to feel safe in the body.
That's it.
Oh my God,
That's
never
it.
experienced that before. So when I'm hearing you speak about this couple you're working with, you can identify, you can feel, but there's this knowing that you've cultivated within your own body to finally face your own grief and self-hatred and all the things that happened with your brother. So how did you so thank you. And then how did you, in that moment with that couple, get him into his body to embody the ownership? What did he have to face first? And did you do that right in the session with them, or how does it work?
Yeah, in the session, it was like slowing down.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, just slow down for a second.
Yeah.
And I just want you to feel the part of you that may be resisting the ownership.
Yeah.
Or feel, where's the part of you that's scared or fearful or afraid to just accept. And he broke down in tears. And it was like, oh, I'm shameful. And then we could feel his tender heart bubble up, right? And then I watched from them sitting there next to each other, rigid,
right,
to all of a sudden you feel his tender heart come up. You feel his ownership. You could feel the ownership.
Yeah.
And then I could see her soften, and all of a sudden they're like supporting each other.
Yeah.
Because he got to feel his heart.
Right.
And so it's there.
Yeah.
We just have to, it's so hard to get out of here because he was in his protective mechanism.
Totally.
Of like, I don't want to be a bad boy, so I'm going to make up the reasons. And it's so, one other thing I wanted to while it's fresh and
Please,
we're on it.
tell me.
That part you mentioned of the tethering down.
Yep.
This is the number one key now because I'm working with women.
Yep.
This is the part they're missing to choosing and selecting healthy men. They already feel it. They're just not trusting this part of their body. They're dating from here. They're not dating from here.
Yeah.
And if every woman I've talked to, they're like, I got a hit that it was a no or a red flag or something, but I didn't listen. I gaslit myself. I made up a story,
Totally.
a future, like I did some other thing.
Yep.
But it's easier to blame him than actually going, oh, okay, can I really trust this part of me more than anyone, and let this part guide me? Yeah. And so I just wanted to, and it's the same with men. Like it's the same with men in choosing and selecting. Like if we live from here, you can feel who's done the integrative work to meet you. And if you haven't done it yet, then you can't feel it yet. And so you're going to keep looping the pattern. So I just wanted to highlight that while you were there.
Fist bump. Yeah. And for me, getting in there is self-forgiveness.
Yep.
Or another way of saying is facing your self-hatred for all the times you didn't do that. So loop back and then loop forward. How, because there was a beautiful part in your documentary where you were forgiving yourself. To me, that's been the hardest thing, is to forgive myself when I did know better and I pushed it away, or I was so hypervigilant that I couldn't even hear it. I was just running so fast from terror. And to forgive myself for the hundreds of thousands of dollars, the almost bankruptcy, all the things, the shutting down companies, 2 failed marriages, haven't spoken to my son in 5 years at this present moment. Like there's a lot of decisions I made from not listening that I have to forgive myself for, to come home and have this capacity and thus have compassion for others because I've finally given it to myself. What was that beautiful moment where they gave back to you that allowed you, it seems, to really root down that soul tether?
Yeah, a great question. And I think a lot of it is, it's still an ongoing journey.
Yeah,
right?
well, we never get there.
so there's still pieces I'm working on, and so that's another ending. But I think a big piece was just having community and feeling safe enough in community is a big part of it, to first be vulnerable.
Yeah.
and to be witnessed in, and then to feel safe enough to be witnessed in the forgiveness. Because there's something, even in the work that I would do, that's a big part of what we're doing, is creating enough safety. And when there's enough safety to then go into those parts and then be witnessed in it.
Yeah.
And then the witnessing is feeling. So there's a big part of like actually feeling, because I find it's kind of how I see it visually, is like there's this deep grief, and it's triggering deep grief from childhood, right? So it's like our coping mechanisms come from, I felt abandoned, I felt neglected, unloved, whatever it was. And then we created the achiever, the caretaker, these masks or these parts that come on to protect us.
Yeah.
So I find often underneath that is the emotion. So it's creating a safe enough place to be witnessed in the emotion.
Yep.
For some reason, there's something that happens physiologically when we're witnessed in the emotion.
Totally.
That allows us to kind of drop down deeper. And then I find once we drop down deeper, the forgiveness from that, if we can feel the emotion and then forgiving ourselves or forgiving them or asking for forgiveness. And then that usually shifts some more emotion. And then on the other side of that, it's almost like we have clarity now of like, I can see why I did what I did and I can see the truth. And it's just, it's very gentle and very loving. And every time we've done it, from here's where I came in, I'm so mad at this person, to like feeling beneath it and feeling the anger and then feeling, oh, I'm actually mad at myself, and then forgiving myself or forgiving them. On the other side, it's like, I was just doing the best I could with the tools I have, or they were just doing the best they could with the tools they have. And there's this deep kind of compassion that originates. And so I feel like each person's nervous system knows what they're ready for. And we can only go to the layer we're ready for. I feel like the body knows what we can and can't handle. So it's like, okay, this next layer is maybe ready to shed. And when it does, it kind of bubbles up, and then we drop in a little bit deeper.
Totally. And you make a great point. I've been trained, so psychedelic somatic integration work, Saj Razvi of the Psychedelic Somatic Institute. So I've learned a lot about the autonomic nervous system coming back to zero. I've learned a lot that the body knows what it's doing. If we could get out of our head and get out of our way and allow it to go through some really uncomfortable things. But another part that's really wise about what you're saying is that, yes, trauma occurred in relationship, but it also heals in relationship, but not in the trauma bonding relationships. It exacerbates there, but like truly like a facilitator such as us, who can hold that non-judgmental, non-fixing, there's nowhere to go, we're not in charge, the body and the spirit is in charge. And for me to watch, well, I've been through this with my facilitators as well, but to watch the body come back in, it's safe, because I see it like a figure eight. Like you can only go as deep as your facilitator is non-judgmental, unconditionally loving, not going anywhere. And then that comes back in the body. And there's like, obviously, tier 3 is often a lot of what's the point? I let everybody down. Why even be here? It's pretty suicidal, hopeless. Move into the tier 2, very intense, self-hatred, rage, terror, panic, something really, really super. And I'm just watching the body's autonomic nervous system all on its own. It knows what it's doing. Comes all the way back to that relief in level 1. Oh my God, I made it. I didn't die. Because the body feels like it's gonna die, right? And the identity that was created to survive that wound is dying. So it was an ego death. You're watching an ego death happen right in front of you. And then it's to zero. And as you said so beautifully, clarity. Back at zero, it's like, we know, we just have this insight of the divine, and we know what we ought not to know, and all the puzzle pieces come together, and we become not just clarity of our brain, but the integrated wisdom of our body. Yeah. And
that's I love how you describe that in the stages. I don't know those stages, but it's exactly the pattern, because I just feel the patterning.
Yes.
And track it, and that's what it would be. It would we would just track, we would move through the patterning to get to neutral.
Yes.
And then when we were neutral, we would fill it all back in with the truth. And you just feel like, and they physiologically shift.
Totally.
Like that comes in like heavy, and then it's like a physiological, where it was tricky is, it would be like, I don't know, because they're just different.
Yeah.
There's just like, oh, I'm just this person now.
Yeah.
So it was hard to even see. And then another thing I found that's part of the challenge is, when we open up this space, you actually have more of your body to experience the world with. So where if a challenge may have been here and this is now here, oftentimes people would have a little bit more challenging experiences, but it wasn't because there was more conflict or challenge. It's because they're feeling more of the world, and they're like, oh, I'm now experiencing the world very differently than before.
Yeah.
Because I'm more sensitive. I have more attunement. I have more awareness. I have more range of feeling, because this is a huge feeling source. And if we've been living from here, the world is just this.
Yeah.
But when we start to keep going down, it's like you get so much more attunement and so much more sensitivity that you're like, oh, this is triggering me over here. This is, so it's just stretching.
Yeah.
Which was part of that process. But I feel like being human's hard.
I know. I know.
And we have so much grief that is oftentimes unprocessed. So that's why it can be very challenging, is it's in the center column is so many layers of grief that it's like, if we haven't been continually emptying the container, then we start and it's like, oh God, there's a well dating all the way back to sometimes in the womb.
Oh,
right.
And past lives. In my journeys, personally and with my clients, things will go down that have nothing to do with this life. But the body remembers, and it's still in there. And I think we bring it back into the next incarnation until we work it out. I mean, I'm not saying I know how it all works, but it's curious what is held in there. And you're right. When that identity, which is like the cloak to protect ourselves, Saj Rosby explains it as tier 1, the body. Tier 2, the identity that we've created to survive the wounds in the body. Tier 3 is when we leave out to unity consciousness, ayahuasca, meditation, breath work, whatever, and we leave. But when the tier 2 begins to dissolve, the identity, the strategies, the shtick, that job, that relationship, all the ways I would always say this, when that starts to dissolve because the wounds are being integrated, you're like, who am I? Does this relationship work for me? Does this job work for me? Does this town work for me? Because you're seeing, maybe seeing is the right word, feeling rightly, because you're all the way up and all the way down. You're grounded, you're here, but also it goes all the way up that vagus nerve to our pineal. So we're tapping in on all sorts of guidance, non-local intelligence. It's a whole different ballgame. So circling back again to working with women, I bet you hear things multidimensionally. Like you can hear their words. You can read their body language. You can sense the energy. Then you can sense the dynamic between the couple, should it be a couple. Are you having like even more fulfillment or joy as you evolve into working with women now?
I am, yeah. And one other piece from that is when I did some really deep forgiveness, which is in the film, I realized that I'd been stuck in a savior pattern. And so I realized the men that I'd been supporting, I was trying to save.
Yeah.
And when I awoke to that, I was like, I don't need to save anyone anymore. And so it really shifted the whole community I'd built. I built a big community. I was like, I've built the wrong community. And it's where I was at.
Right.
But I was like, I'm actually in a different space now. And I just couldn't go back. So it was almost like, we're either going here or I'm shutting it down. And so we literally just shut it down and turned into a member-led community because I was like, I'm in a whole different world now. And so I had to make that decision to kind of go, do you want to come with me on this journey? But I realized I'd created so much of the patterning around fixing that it was really hard to just shift. And I tried for about 6 months. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to just close this chapter.
Yeah.
And I think one other piece that's important is the last 5 years of my work, I shifted from working with men to working with women. And that was such a game changer because I hadn't had healthy, integrated women holding the container for me. And when I had that, it started to just shift all my limiting beliefs, all the judgments I had. Like I didn't have felt sense contrast of, I had it in friendships, but not where I was being like, let me show you my stuff that I'm struggling with.
Yeah.
And in opening up and being really vulnerable with healthy, integrated feminine.
Yeah.
It was just shattering my belief system. And it was also giving me contrast to be like, oh, now I can feel the difference and can attune to healthy in my body, what it feels like. And that started shifting what I was attracting. It started shifting who I was attracted to, started to become unattractive.
Yeah.
And like it's instead of the yo-yo, exciting, aliveness, high attraction, that whole energy, which is where I was attracted, started to become like, oh, I don't want this.
Yeah.
I want like this.
Yeah.
Like, I want stability. I want long-term communication. I want more integrated of a partner, not instead of high value, like externally focused. I want more internally focused.
Totally.
And so that's when I was like, okay, that's when I started hearing the subtleties of like, okay, women. And at first I was like, no. And I did a women's embodiment retreat 2 years ago, which was amazing. And I checked in and it's like, you have some more mother work to do. And so I spent six to 8 months doing some really deep, again, more mother work. And after that, I was like, all right, I'm ready. And so it's been amazing because I'm essentially holding father role in a number of ways to help heal the relationship with the masculine.
Daddy wounds, yeah.
So it's a lot of daddy wounds, but it's also just men in general. We've caused a lot of pain. Like we've really, and it's because I've worked with men for a decade. It's the same stuff that men are talking about. Like we would get safe enough to say, I've done these things. I've left my kids. I've violated. I've done all these things. And how do I reckon they're still holding the pain?
Yes, yes.
And so creating a really safe space to also, we do a practice where we have really safe men come in and take ownership and say, I've violated, I've abused, I've neglected, I've abandoned, I've done these things and I'm sorry, and like give me back the pain. And it can be really validating because I find majority of women have never heard like really deep ownership.
Yes.
And so it's exciting because now I'm seeing it through, again, it's not like I have this amazing relationship. So I'm like, let me show you from this amazing relationship what to do, but I'm really good at the heart and I'm really good at grief and trauma and the nervous system. And I find when we do that and learn to feel and trust our intuition and really come here, it changes how we move through life. And
100%.
so that's what I'm discovering in the journey is it's fun. Women do the work really quickly. Men have more of like a lot of armor. So we have so many layers of armor. It's like you almost have to like chip away at the armor, build up, break down, build up. It's like this.
Yeah.
And versus women is just more elevation energy. It's almost like, I just want to keep elevating you, being like conditioning and supporting where they're trusting themselves, taking up more space, being more vulnerable, trusting their intuition. It just feels like it's like gentle nudges to empower where they're already super connected. They just have dulled it or dismissed it or pushed it down or been hurt. And so when they can reactivate that, they already know. So it's very different. I feel like the men have farther to go to get to that knowing than women. And I think I truly believe the reason men do what they do is primarily for women. So like 95% of everything a man does is for women, which I think a lot of women don't realize. Like even his success, his power, he's more, he's a better choice for majority of women as an alpha.
Yeah.
We've been conditioned. So I believe if women start to value integration more than the high value success, achievement, power dynamic, but actually how embodied are you? How much emotional safety can you create? How about your words and actions? How aligned are you in your integrity and your internal strength?
Totally.
Like if that's what starts to become the new narrative of what women want and value, men will shift. So for me, working with women will shift men faster than just going to work with men directly. And I also believe if we heal the heart with ourselves, then we can have and attract healthy partner. And then we create healthy family units. And that really does do the opposite end of where I was working at before. So it's still the same thing. I'm just finding it through love versus working just on the wounding.
Yeah. And I love your evolution as well. I'll go back and then let's keep going with the work with the women. We start, I believe, like we all just come in the 3D where we're in our head, right? And somebody's right and somebody's wrong. And I got to be in control and I got to win and you're going to lose. Like it's where we all start, 3D. 4D is so much more polarity, right? We're really starting to take a stand for what we believe in, and we're getting more integrated. But we can often go in like maybe fixing in the head, but certainly, and then we're dropping more into the heart. This is really what we value. But then we can go often into the saving mode, and I'm no different than you. Smart girl, and then go into being of service as opposed to contribution. Service, one-dimensional, transactional. Contribution, figure 8. I wasn't there yet. So I was still saving all my clients when I was really the one that needed to go inside and do my own work because I was off balance. I wasn't totally aligned. So I feel this congruency with your pattern of like pushing, fixing, and then more heart-based service and saving. But then we can't get to 5th dimension in saving. And in fact, I don't know if you follow all this or astrology or these dimensional things, but the 4th dimension's gone. It blew up. There were many of us bridgers, 4th dimensional bridgers, bringing the 3rd to the 5th, bringing the 3rd to the 5th, exhausted, doing our mission, but the 4th is gone now. Doesn't work. People need to step up on their own and do their work, and we don't need to exhaust ourselves, nor be a little bit superior. I need to save you because you're broken. Nobody's broken. And we want it. That's heart broken open. There's the polarity we can hold, right, in this 5th dimension. So I love how your career, your spiritual evolution, it's all aligning into the 5th where there's no one to save. And then we bring in Chinese New Year. Now we're the wood snake, which is the feminine, as opposed to the dragon, the wood dragon, masculine. So like the timing of the universe, the timing of your business, the timing of your core desires of moving to work with the divine feminine and your own divine feminine, getting into your body and receiving. It's all like, my brain's kind of like going, wow, you're like an emanation of the evolution of what we're all going through. How exquisite.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so back with working with the women, yes, I certainly value integration. I've been an entrepreneur for 20 years, paying my own bills. I appreciate a nice dinner being taken out for, but I don't need that anymore. But the 20-year-old sure did. I married the Wall Street guy. I was the model in Japan. A guy totally bought that hook, line, and sinker because I didn't believe I could take care of myself. And then I became the boss bitch. I took care of everybody else, got my staff, take care of everybody, right? And that was an important step in my evolution, not a mistake. I needed to go through it, but then I needed to let it go and learn to be supported by my staff and be supported by the universe, and a lot more humility and a lot more surrender. So continue to talk a little more, if you would, about the fulfillment of what you see when these women get these other pieces, communicate differently. What have you seen in their lives?
Yeah, it's amazing. I love what you're saying because I studied men's work for so long, and now I study a lot with women, or I'm studying how women see men. So it's just a whole nother, I'm seeing men one at a whole different level. And I've studied men for a decade, but I'm seeing them now through training women about men. I'm seeing men at whole different levels because now I'm looking at them through the stages they're in. I'm looking at them as, it's just been really cool. But I feel like it's like in the heroine's journey, which is more the woman's journey versus the hero's journey is the man's journey.
Okay.
And there's this, briefly, it's like a disconnect or separation from the feminine, an over-identification with the masculine.
Yeah, yeah.
And then there's a descend, which is like we have to feel the grief and the sadness to then find the goddess who reawakens the feminine. And then there's like healing the mother-sister wounds, healing the father-brother wounds, which is, we end in integration. So I feel like I'm inspired to, and I'm learning this as I go because I'm just feeling it, discovering it. But it's really about sovereign union, I feel like is what and sovereign union is, can I integrate my masculine feminine? So as a man, I've been really good at my own safety or creating safety. Where I struggled was in my nurture. So when I was in more codependent dynamics, I'm like, I'll provide the safety, you take care of my nurture. And we were in codependency.
Yeah.
So I was attracted to like, I can't do any of my nurture stuff, so somebody's going to do it for me. And then I had to go, how do I handle this in me? So I had to awaken my feminine attributes. I had to learn to nurture myself. I had to learn to go, when I had a porn addiction for many years, and said, where was I going for that? I was just wanting nurture. So I was like, how do I nurture myself? How do I fill my heart up when I feel alone or tender or sad?
How do you?
Lots of practices now.
What's your favorite?
Lately it's been, I create a ritual where it's usually at night when I'm working, I'm good. It's like at the end of the day. And I used to like watch TV and like kind of numb out a little bit or watch war movies or whatever else. But now it's like I shut down at 7:30. I have a red light room. I have a healing room where it's got a red light bed, a sound bed, and I really just allow my body to like breathe.
Chill.
And like I put on soft, gentle music. And I really just like my divine feminine. I allow myself to feel like, how would I want to be touched if I had a partner here? Like how would I, and I'll maybe touch my face or like, so I just turn the energy into like really gentle, feminine type energy. And then I do really relaxing things that feel good on my body. And then I allow myself to be filled up by beauty, like by the goddess. I'm like, how's the goddess in my home right now? Like, I'm like, she maybe wants me to clean up a little bit. So let me clean up my home a little bit. Or I'm like, I want to go sit in nature for a little while. Or I have cats. And so I'll spend time just like super present. Sometimes I'll like play a game where I'm like, if I was a cat, what would I do? And I just model them. If they flop on the ground, I flop on the ground. If they stare at the wall, I stare at the wall. So I just kind of like allow myself to get into these like more playful, nurturing states. And then I find it just like calms my nervous system down. Because it's really a relationship with the body. So I look at it like, like my little boy.
Need?
Yeah, and I had to mother myself in some of the areas I didn't get the nurture I needed. I had to learn to nurture myself.
This is good. So then you're coming into a relationship whole, not needing her to complete you.
Well, that's the key. So I find primarily it's men, it's learning how do I still, and some men need their more safety. They don't know how to provide for themselves and they have to handle that. So how do I balance my safety with my masculine, my nurture with my feminine? And now I'm looking at things like I don't need somebody, but I can really feel like, are we getting to know each other? Like, are we slowing things down to go like let's build the relationship, not who needs help, right? And so the same thing is with women. I found it's often safety for them. They're wanting the masculine to provide safety and abandoning themselves to get it. So when they can start to say, hey, and they're abandoning themselves because they don't want to feel the pain and the sadness and the grief. So right. So what we do is we walk through a masculine cleanse where we create containment, and we contain the energy to say any area that I'm getting a hit, I say no to. So if we contain our energy and we can't go anywhere to get a hit, then we're stabilizing the nervous system so we can start to see what's happening. What happens is it all comes up. It's already there. And then when it comes up and we feel it and we can learn to be with it, what happens is it's amazing, because at first it's like all hell's breaking loose. It's like, oh my gosh, this has happened. They get mad at me. Like everything erupts. But then on the other side of that, when they learn and they have a community and support, like, oh, it's okay, keep going. I got you, right? And there's validation and support in that. What happens is it's like, okay, today was really tough, but there was a woman that just was like, oh, my daughter was crying. And because I've been being there with my little girl, I just walked in and was like, what do you need? Do you need a hug? And she's like, in the past, I would try to fix it. And I would try to. So she's like, my whole relationship with my daughter's changing. She's like, I'm like stabilizing my nervous system. I'm able to be there with her. So that changes our blueprint with our kiddos, because we can see them now for just the kid that's upset. And we can be with our grief, so we can be with their grief. And we're not trying to like fix it, run away from it, distract. We're just like, oh, I see me, so I see you. So it's really big with kiddos. And then in relationship, like I had a woman that was like, I just had chatted with her, and she's like, I'm in this really healthy relationship. And I'm like, tell me all the details. Like, what's going on? And she's like, we have alignment in the different areas. And she's like, because what I do is I have them build a vision and then prioritize their top values, because you're not going to have everything, but the top values are the most important. And so she's like, we're aligned here. She's like, he's a little younger than me. There's a couple different, like 10 years younger and a bunch of things. But she's like, I've never felt so safe in my life. She's like, he's my safe place. She's like, we can talk about anything. And he leans into conflict. He leans into conversation. He wants to know me. He asks deep questions about my world. Like, and one other one I think is really key is, because so many women are like, where are all the men? I've done all the work. I have all the things, but just where are they at? And I'm like, it's an energetic piece. And
you're not very sexy right now the way you're talking.
Well, what I find is like, when you change, it just shows up. So there's not things. So I'm like, where did you meet? And she was like, because a big practice is learning to, when you don't feel good, then just honor that moment. It's like moon cycle. I want to be internal. So like, she's like, I was feeling really good about myself. I want to go out with a friend and celebrate. She's like, I got all done up for me, not for a man.
That's right.
She's like, I wanted to feel good. I felt so, I forget her language, but radiant, beautiful,
juicy,
sparkly, juicy. And she's like, we went out to just a nice sushi dinner to enjoy. And it was the sushi chef. We started talking, and there was just amazing connection. And she's like, so, but it's like, it can just show up, because she was feeling so alive. And she's like, from the moment I met him, I could feel him in his body. I could feel his integrity. So those are the questions I ask. Where do you feel him?
Because if she can't feel herself, she can't feel him.
That's it.
And if she can't feel herself there, she can't attract that vibration. It doesn't work.
And I find this is the, if she can be present with her, and she's emotionally stable, like regulation stable, then she's actually going into dating feeling, not thinking, or future pacing, or storing, or she's actually like, all right, let me feel this man. Where am I feeling him in my body? As he's talking, where am I hearing his language reverberate in my body? Because a lot of men think they're there, but they're not. So if they think they're there, that's what's confusing, is they didn't do it intentionally to try. Well, there are men that probably are just trying to get laid or something, but I think if I can feel that a mile away, I hope a woman could feel that a mile away. But some men think they're different than they're at. And if you're listening to the words, you're going to get lost. Because I've seen women do the same thing. But if you're feeling with your body, you feel the incongruencies. And you're like, oh, you can literally feel where they're like, oh, they think they're here, but they're not. I'm not feeling them here. Because this feels like, it's almost like that pole you described. It almost feels like this deep pole reverberating from a woman, like in her womb or in her belly. So she's like, oh, I feel his integrity. I feel his truth. And the pattern, we are where we're at. So if his words and actions, if he's done the work, his words and actions are aligned. He's going to stay consistent. And she's like, he leads, he does all these different things that I'm wanting, because she's a high income earner. So for her, it was like, I want to be in my feminine. We may not have the same lifestyle, because she's doing a lot of things and he's in a build mode. But she's like, he leads all the dates. He plans all the dates. He provides on all the dates. Like, so I find in general, it doesn't mean a man can't be the provider. Because I know a woman is like, I still would like the provider. It's just she's valuing something different, is the integration first. And I've seen it's much easier for a man to go integration to high value than high value to go integration. And I'll say what this means. Integration, if I've done the internal work, but I just haven't built enough of my vision for my kingdom yet, which would be
Right.
more externally focused.
Right.
But I have a partner that believes in me and we have a solid
Just
foundation.
Wind in your
She can
wings.
help him 10x just his belief in her and feeling supported. He's going to, because he wants to serve.
Yeah.
He's like, how do I create the life we want? And as long as he has a vision and he's competent, he'll go create it. I've seen so many men. I saw a man go from making $30K a year to $2 million a year in 4 years, just as an example. She was making $1 million a year. He was making 30,000 when they met, but he had a big vision and he had the competency, and it was her belief in him that he makes more than she does now, right? And so she could actually relax into her feminine. In the flip scenario, a man that has already achieved a high level of success and a lot of power externally, high value, for him to do the integrative work, he has to deconstruct his whole life, his whole identity, his whole ego. So unless there's a major life event, a major health crisis,
I've rarely seen them change.
it's really hard for them to shift. And so I actually train more on looking for the integration as the value. And as long as he's in providership, meaning he's leading, directing the relationship, so she can be in her feminine and he can hold emotional safety. There's a lot of other ways for a man to show up and lead where you're like, oh, he shows up and my life gets easier. It actually doesn't get harder.
Right.
Because he's like, he wants to throw up. He wants to support. When something comes up, you just talk through it.
Right.
Right? It's like, you're like, oh, wait, then it's not complicated. It's not messy. It doesn't take from my peace. He accelerates what I'm doing and celebrates me.
Yeah.
And I still believe in his vision that he can accomplish what I want. So I think there's a new narrative where we're changing kind of the landscape. And when I'm seeing them, it's just nice to see women happy. Almost like they're like, I've changed my blueprint. I've changed my alchemy. Right? And feeling like they did it and they have the power to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you're doing the same deep work that you did with yourself and with men, with women. I think we all, this is the next evolution. We all, from this deep embodied soul place, this is how we can sense. This is where true safety comes from, where the inspiration and getting up under someone is. I love this. So to the degree, as we wrap this up, how is it coming full circle in your dating world? And what is it like to be Josh?
Yeah, I'm in a really interesting season. I'm in a season where I've done so much nurturing work.
Yeah.
Like that part of me that had a big longing for desire and longing for partnership is like softening.
Yeah.
And I'm just feeling really like I'm in a season of like really loving me.
Yeah.
And so I'm in this new season of like, I don't have as much bandwidth, where in the past I would just make bandwidth and kind of override my purpose for partnership.
Yeah.
Or would be waiting to build it with somebody.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, oh, I'm clear what I'm building, clear where I'm going. I'm giving it all to God. So I'm just in this new season where I'm like, I would say I'm open, but I'm not, it's just become a lot more selective. And so like, I'm not playing any of my old roles. Like I'm just, if sovereign union shows up, I'm open to that space, but I'm just really like satisfied.
Right.
And I'm like, really like my self-care takes a lot of time. And so I'm like, there's not a whole lot of extra bandwidth at the moment. I go to bed early, I wake up early. So I'm just kind of in this new season where I was like constantly trying to fill the space.
Yep.
And now I love the space.
Yep.
So I'm open, but I'm not really looking. Does that make sense? I'm just kind of like
exactly the same place, and it's very rare that someone gets this. I was out with one of our cohorts, Kate, in from the UK for dinner the other night, and she was asking me about that. I'm like, he's here, but I don't know him yet. Like, that's how it feels. It feels like I'm already in a relationship, but I'm not. And my masculine is more, he's stopped all the spinning and going out, and she's been lonely. This is all within myself. So he's home. And they're together, and all of my practices are so nourishing. And I have a cat as well, and I've got this big faux sheepskin rug. I've like moved the coffee table, and it's my place I slide in at the end of the day, get the candles, get my glass of wine. My cat does her sprawl, I do my sprawl, and we're just grateful for the day.
Oh, that's amazing.
And then in the beginning of the day, sunrise on my cheeks is like my favorite time of the day. And got my first drink of the day, my teas. Then I got my special coffees with my mushrooms. I got my whole like witch's brew. And I might call myself a dangerous old woman. And I sit there and I just go, oh my God, I feel so whole and full and grateful. And it doesn't necessarily look all like perfect on the outside at all. It sure feels like it on the inside. Not perfect, but whole. Feels whole. on the inside in a way it never, ever has. I'm so, so grateful. And I have my self-pleasuring practices with myself and with my masculine. And he's like Jason Momoa, generally is the main one that comes in. He's like this, but he's a dork and he's a goof and he's strong and I feel safe and it's all within me. Yeah. And so this will be my last question. And then we're going to go to the after the show for the Patreon edition. We talk about the womb and this soul kind of like keel into the earth. I mean, as a gentleman, how do you feel about expressing the power of a woman's vagina and her cervical connection with that kind of orgasm all the way to the tip of her pineal gland, like this true power in her body of wholeness and energy within her once she gets in there, not just sensing on and dating, but really like this source of incredible potency and light for her own life and for her relationships. Is this starting to emerge in your women's work, the power of the sacred pussy, the yoni?
It will, how would I describe this? My primary goal is safety.
Right.
In a really clean container. Yeah. And I don't feel like that's my job.
That's your role, yeah.
So I do fully believe in that and super empowered, but I would bring in other women and I probably would remove myself from those parts of the conversation because I feel like it's just like there's not a lot of men teaching women's work, but a lot of women have been hurt and have sanctuary abuse and sanctuary trauma. So for me, I'm really clean with my lines. And it's like, if there's anything in that, I step out. Or even when I did my women's retreat, like, hey, let's go have fun in the pool. I was like, oh, I'll have the women take care of that. I remove myself from anything that, just to make sure it's extra clean. And so I'm in full support of it.
So you tell them though, the sanctuary or the sacredness of their, like, I'm wondering, I'm just like planting a seed and maybe it'll be other women that come. But for me, when the vagina has been betrayed, to be in a space of women, to bring it, to cleanse it, purify it, and that no thing has power over us, is a very sacred moment. But to then have a noble masculine, almost like the knighting of King Arthur, like this is very noble, I'm sorry, you are divine. There's something, I believe, a peace that the masculine can bring in honor of the goddess, that who knows what you will do in the future, but your integrity is so pure and the work you've done is so pure. There could be a gift you give just as a blessing, even to like a reset. Does that make sense? Or you sense that at all?
It does. And I feel like I'm finding my way into that. And that's why it started with just the deep ownership of the masculine, the pain we've caused.
Yeah.
And even some of the couples work, I do a lot more sexual. I've done it because if that feels safe, like, okay, there's a man and a woman, I'm helping them deepen what they're doing. So I think it will evolve as my work evolves because I explored a lot in that area. And so I have a lot of competency. I'm just finding like, that's not my primary.
Sure.
So it's like, I feel like the primary is the safety, the foundation to creating that. But I feel like in sacred union. Yeah. And to your point, I could sit with that a little bit more of like, what does that look like? But that's, I think my deepest intention is like, I see you and you're like the gift of life.
Yes.
Like the feminine is why we're all here. The feminine is the oracle. And for me, and all this whole culture that says the masculines, I believe the feminine leads. And so for me, that's how it always comes for me is I get insight from the feminine energy and that's what I follow. So the feminine is the oracle. It is where we're in devotion to. And so I think that's already what I believe. Yeah. And so for me, I'm serving because I feel like, how do I give back to the feminine to help empower the feminine with the immense power that has been lost or forgotten? Right. To really, because when it comes back, because that's what I see a lot in the culture is there's the anger at the masculine. There's a lot of anger at the masculine right now. And then there's like a dismission on the actual feminine qualities that are so powerful and potent, like almost like not realizing that such a power source. Like it's, like I said earlier, it literally is what men are doing everything for.
Yes.
And not realizing it. So like flipping it and blaming, like worse, it's like, oh wait, we are the power source. And that full embrace of it, because it can be so loving and so sweet and so like nurturing. Life, it's life.
Totally.
Literally life itself is the feminine.
Yeah. So just,
we're all here because of the feminine.
Yeah. The big vagina of the universe, the big she, the great she. Yeah. Yeah. And then even to take out the sexuality of even the yoni and just it's the portal, the birth of the universe, the birth of this light, the source of creation, the bow and then the arrow, right? There's just a very honoring, sacred energy to you that I think is a gift to the women you work with.
Thank you. And I'll go deeper into that. Like I really received that. And
it doesn't even need to be sexual. Just the core of this source of her power and light is all the way into this heel. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. Yeah, I've been looking at it as womb, and that's why I'm learning. But you're right, it goes deeper. This is where it originates from, because it goes all the way up.
And it's totally connected. And when this, in my experience anyways, is when this is felt as so sacred and not just for sex, but it is this literal portal to the universe. And then through an open heart, because you've done the work and do the work to stay open to feel everything that comes from the horrific pain to the bliss, and then all the way up through using your voice, and then all the way up seeing your vision, and then surrendering to what the universe has in store, divine will. Like there's all these connecting.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I love being a crone. It's good.
Well, I just really want to acknowledge you too. Like you've done so much work, and you show that as you move through the world. Like you're very integrated.
Thank you.
You've done a lot of the deep integrative work. You've overcome so many intense challenges, and you're happy and joyful and fully alive. And so it's really rare to see a woman that is like so full of life and so full of radiance and aliveness, but also holds that like you have an integrated, balanced core where you're like, okay, I can go handle things if I need to, which you feel the grounded connectedness. Yeah. But you're also super alive and super radiant. So you have a really good way of integrating your parts. So
thank you.
Thank you for being such an amazing example.
Oh, thank you. Fist pump. So I appreciate you. Thank you for seeing me. That feels really, really good. I want people to know we've got Joshua Wenner, Wenner. All of this will be in the show notes for you. And Joshua Michael Wenner on Instagram for people to follow you. And ladies, if you're looking for online or in person, both?
We have it online, and then we'll have some in-person events that come up this year.
Stunning to move with you as you evolve. I'm really, really, really grateful. We're going to do more in a minute here over on Patreon or after the show. But just in completion, from your heart to the viewers, to the listeners, how would you like to leave us? Learning to be with their grief is the key to everything. Like it really is. Like gentle nudge, just take a moment to slow down. Like if you're listening right now, just take a moment to slow down and be there with the part of you that you don't want to be there with. Yeah. And just take an exhale, just take a breath. Like the more you can practice that, I really believe that it heals everything else in the world, in our life and everyone else's. Thank you. Of my 10 Alana Prep method processes, number 1 is little you, and everyone builds upon that. So I'm in complete alignment. Thank you, brother. Birthday, January 16th, 15th, brother.
Yeah. Capricorn.
All right. So this interview has hopefully just completely shifted you, awakened, whatever the verb tense is, something in you. Please don't just go off and do something else. If you would be so kind, just take a minute when you finish listening, put your feet on the earth and listen. What is one action I can take that will shift the trajectory of my life? Just because one a day is all it takes. Definitely follow Josh. That can be one action. Go to his website. That can be another action. But be good to yourself. Slow down and listen. And thank you so much for the honor of being with us here on Intimate Conversations. Heart Broken Open, Season 13. We are so blessed you shared this with us. All my love. See you next week on Intimate Conversations. Get out there and make love to life. People come together, obviously, for various reasons. And I think when you consciously choose to ascend, the universe will send you exactly who you need to meet to grow. And sometimes growth is super simple and easy and flowing. Most of the time not. Most of the time growth is uncomfortable and it triggers you, and it awakens a blind spot, and it shows you where you think you're present but you're not. You think you're integrated but you're not. You think you're free but you're not. So I'm so grateful as I'm sitting here integrating and reflecting on all the ways I grew as a facilitator leading this retreat. And one of the main pieces I'm so proud of is how I'm bringing in more movement through music. How music is such a great teacher to help us go beyond our edges and express something on the other side of this, like, what are people going to think? What are people going to do? Are they going to reject me? Am I enough? All the stuff that we do up here, all the doubt, right? That when in a safe container, over a period of days, at a retreat, and people are also in a larger container of being with me for a year, coaching with me for a year. So tight container, safe container, secure container, unconditionally loving container, no judgment container, like that is required. And then what's inside the container can start to get stirred up, integrated, revealed, transformed. Yeah, I just fumble and find my way. And then I discover what works. And now that unconscious competence is a conscious competence. I'm like, oh, that's why these retreats are so transformational. That's even why the Become the One Mastery was so transformational. It's the container. So that's my masculine, divine masculine energy holding the container space. And then inside the feminine, my love, my expression can purely flow. I can hear the divine and do what's required in the group, and also just throw it away. Like I plan tight, but I hang loose. Like I had a lot of plans of what I thought we were going to do. Ditched them. Timing was off. That didn't feel right. I completely changed one day for the ladies into this really sweet, nourishing sisterhood that was so not on the agenda. But it's only until you get on the cord of life, you jump in the river and get off the banks of the river, it's only until you're in it that you learn how to navigate. And you learn that you do know. You're not up here, but you sense. You know exactly who to be, what to ask for, what to let go of. But only when we're actually in life. You can't think about this. You can't pre-plan this. You just got to be present. And when you have your own back, when you have little you's back, when you learn to open your heart in the face of anything, when you're in a safe container, when you show up with the intention of letting go and shedding what doesn't work and awakening your essence, like miracles friggin' happen. So I'm just so friggin' glad of this retreat. Tying it into this incredible man, Josh, he too has evolved over time. So he started with all of the work he did with men and vets until it got to the place where they held space for him to integrate his wounds and his grief. Just like my world does. Like I'm a hot mess in front of my people and I integrate in front of them in real time. And that brings such relatability and safety for people. And then now he's reflected more to the work he gets to do with couples and helping them see things and communicate in ways that are blind spots to them, but clear as day to Josh to teach them. And then the work he gets to do with women and helping them to understand the masculine more and to be able to attract healthier men. It's so beautiful to see Josh's evolution as a facilitator as well. I so respect this about him. And I love that we can share this together with you, what it is to be, we know what we're doing. We're wise and masterful where we are, but we're also humans and a hot mess where we're a hot mess and still a work in progress. And what a blessing it was to then go into the workshop with him and be together and grow together and see each other together and honor each other's hearts together. So please, in the show notes are ways that you can follow him, connect with him, learn about his programs for women. Maybe if you are in a relationship and you'd like some a third party of support. He knows what he's doing. He has such a noble heart. And then we had a really good time after the show on Patreon. So join us over there as well as we answer some more intimate, naughty questions and dance and express our soul's essence through movement as brothers and sisters, as having each other's back. What an honor to get to know this incredible man more deeply. Thank you for being with us on Intimate Conversations. See you over on Patreon on After the Show. Love you with all my heart.